You're tuned in to Talon. 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 Talon it like it is. You're tuned in to Talon It Like It Is with Talon Thomas, and today I'm in the studio with a very exciting guest to me. This is a guy who I met along the way, and it turned out we even had some common friends, but I met him at an event called KubrickCon, and that's a celebration of the famous film director Stanley Kubrick, and he's done such many movies as The Shine and my film by him that I found that I really enjoy is The Clockwork Orange. It's a fun movie. It's a fun family movie, and it reminds me of my teens, and I like it. So we met at KubrickCon. I actually thought it was a GameCube thing, but I met this guy here. So I want to introduce him to you because I've been so glad to have gotten to know him. His name is Anthony Robinson.
Hi, hello. How did you confuse Kubrick with the GameCube?
Well, I think of the GameCube as a little cube brick. It's like a little brick, a little cube brick, and that's what I would always call it with my friends. I'd say, y'all want to do some bricking? And so when I saw Kubrick, I thought, not only do these people share my interests, which is great, but they also share my unique take on slang. And I'm like, I'm going there thinking, wow, I'm about to meet the best buddies I'm going to ever have in my life. And you know what? In a way, I was wrong, but in a way, I was right because you have been such a delight learning all the things about the comedy, which I think is such a funny thing. Is comedy.
I'm a professor emeritus, the University of Talon in satire, and that's part of the reason why I was at the Stanley Kubrick convention, aka KubrickCon. Not to be confused with Kubla Khan.
who, of course, for those of you who don't know, was a great leader in China.
Wow.
And he did many things like giving spaghetti to us. And I think it's so important every time that you eat a plate of spaghetti that you take a little moment to say.
Did you fact check that?
Thank you, Kubla Khan. Do we have is that I believe they call it lo mein, but it came from there. Spaghetti.
Yep. It's spaghetti.
Okay, so Kubla Khan, good guy, grandson of Genghis Khan, who
I think it's Genghis.
Yes, scholars differ on that, but there's a lot of the experts I talked to, and also I've talked to some direct descendants of Genghis Khan, and there's not too many.
Who are these direct?
I talked to a fellow who told me he was a direct descendant.
What was his name?
It's Jeff.
Jeff Khan?
No, I think the name changed somewhere along the line.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that happened.
But I don't know if it's a patrilineal thing or who was who in all of that. But he said Genghis, and I'll say Genghis. But you know what? This show is about differing opinions. So if you'd like to call him Genghis, that's fine. But Kubla Khan, not to be confused with KubrickCon, which is where I met Anthony Robinson, and we hit it off so well. And what I think is interesting is Anthony is an expert of satire. That I'm saying that right? So satire.
You were going to say it like the French way, right? Satire.
Satire. Well, yes. You know, it is one of these things where I really need to work it out of my system. But sometimes when I get on academic topics, I end up using the French pronunciation.
Oh, yeah.
And so, if I'm
Can I
talking
tell
about
you a secret?
Yes.
Professors, we all do that in like meeting rooms amongst each other.
And I had that impression. I thought that might be the case. And it's one of those things that whenever I do that, when I make
I'm just kidding, by the way. We don't do that because we know better.
Oh, okay. Well,
and
that is as funny as that is. It did throw me off because I have this thing that happens to me where whenever I do that, I do those kind of fruity French pronunciations. My elbows get cold, and I think, wow, that's weird. My elbows feel cold, and so I was thinking maybe these professors are doing all those pronunciations, so that's why they are always wearing the elbow patches, is to keep themselves warm from that.
No, I can see how one would think that, but no, that's not why.
Well, maybe not at your alma mater, but at some other ones they might do that. So maybe we'll have a different professor on. If you have any colleagues you can recommend, that would be great. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about geography, though, because I know geography isn't your area of expertise, but you are from there. You are from geography, so I understand you've lived many places.
Yeah, I've I went to Pakistan for about 2 years, learned satire there, how they do it. Then I went to
That's so very interesting. I didn't know that they were allowed to do satire in
you'd be
Pakistan.
surprised. Yeah.
Because it's such a risky business, satire. And that's why sometimes I don't like it, because it seems so tricky to me. Because someone is saying these things and then I'm hearing them and I'm thinking, is that really what they mean, or is it something different?
That's a good question, Sometimes I wonder.
Does that ever come up for you with satire, that sometimes the thing the person is saying isn't what they really intend to mean?
Well, yeah, sometimes I'm watching it and I'm going, oh, yeah, they don't mean that. That's good.
See, so you see it too, but you like it. See, because to me it seems so much like it's so tricking. Because if I go and someone does a satire on me and they're pretending to be one thing, but they're really making a different point, then all of a sudden, where does that lead? Is what I'm wondering. What path are we walking down when we do that? Because then suddenly, am I going to go to McDonald's and say, "Oh, can I have a McWhopper with cheese?" And they go, "I feel like I really thought that you meant chicken sandwich, but you were doing a satire on me." And then suddenly I'm stuck holding the chicken sandwich, which is delicious, but it's not what I wanted.
Well, I think you're confusing yourself when you do that. Yeah. I don't know what that has to do with Dr. Strangelove, but yeah,
And that's the black and white one. And I think, why would you do that with a movie if you have the option to do it in colors?
I don't know. I don't know why that would be a complaint. It's part of the appeal, as it talks about the World War II society.
Oh, and I see. So it's kind of being on the theme of what it's talking about, which is an interesting tactic in filmmaking, and one that I think not a lot of people use because not a lot of people find appealing. But having these kind of layers, different layers in the film. And I think that's why people, the people who do like Kubrick, those people that were there, they like him so much because there's all the layers within it.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on with each scene and the dialogue, making fun of whatever the situation is at the moment.
Oh, so you're bringing it back to satire now. You're not satiring me right now. Can we clear that up?
Am I satiring myself?
Oh, well, and now there's these layers again, and I'm just learning to understand
Maybe
all
you're
this.
satiring me right now.
I think everyone at home can rest assured that is not happening, all right? Now, for years, I've been out here saying the same things. I've had this agenda as long as anyone can remember, and I've always held it dear. And if this was just some kind of joke, I don't think that would have been able to ever happen even, because nobody has ever done a joke for that long as I would have had to have done it. So, I mean, yes, I would be kind of this amazing figure, this person who could just kind of create all this out of nothingness and create another person. And, it almost, being that I'm a man who could actually create another human, it would almost give me the gift of life that, certain people would think is unattainable to me on a biological level, and I'd really be like this awesome hero. But I am actually not doing that. I'm a real person who's had these beliefs and wants the American people to hear what I have to say without it being muddled up in some kind of joking or somebody thinking I'm doing sarcasm or satire.
Yeah, you don't want people to confuse you being sarcastic with you being honest.
Exactly, because I think that honesty and is very important, and I think that if people get confused about your honesty, then the confusion in their head is almost like a lie they're telling themselves, and it's spreading lies, and it's bad.
That's why I like you. You know, you tell like it is.
You know what? You are the first person, and you know what? I guess this is the big unveiling to the listeners at home. He's the first person to ever notice it. The name of this show is a pun on the saying, the famous saying, telling it like it is. And in all these years, oh so many years, no one has ever cracked a code before. And this is why I'm glad I got confused, and I'm glad I walked into CuberCon. And I thought it's worth how scary The Shining was. Just to have had someone who gets me the way you get me. You get the humor. And that's why it's so great that you're an expert in humor.
The Shining is a great satire on crazy white families. And, it's a great show.
See, that's a little, this isn't really that kind of show.
I'm sorry.
I don't see mental illness.
Well, as a white person,
just call
I
them
don't
white.
see.
Just call them a white family, but I don't really see mental illness, So the term crazy white family seems
mentally ill.
Ooh, even then, just keep it to race. Just really focus on the racial element. I don't think bringing I don't think bringing someone's personal character into it is gonna. I think that just muddies the waters.
No, I agree. As a white person, I agree.
So, if that's how you want to agree, you can agree any way you want as long as you do. But yes, that movie was a real twists and turns. I thought the twins were scary to me because usually little girls are nice and friendly.
That's a satire. It's a satire on nice, friendly twin girls.
So that's a satire on me too.
Yeah.
So there's been all these satires hidden all around everywhere that I've been this whole time.
Yeah.
And now I'm just putting on the sunglasses that let me see, like in that famous motion picture where the guy can see that ads are really skeletons.
You're talking about Ray. You're talking about Ray.
Yeah, he's a skeleton. He sees them and they're evil.
Yeah, and then he plays the piano.
Yes.
Which is a satire on Stevie Wonder.
Oh, and he's someone who I've always said, when are we going to put him in his place? When are we going to kind of take him down a peg?
Yeah.
Because he's out there pretending to be blind to make money, and everybody just kind of says, it's your gimmick, it's okay. Daft Punk wears helmets, and you're pretending to be blind. But it's kind of insensitive, I think, to people who really are that.
Yeah, one more reason the satire of Stevie Wonder was necessary with the movie Ray, which had Rowdy Piper.
Yes, and he was seeing everything, and he was seeing that his brother was actually dead. Yeah. And I thought that was sad.
Yeah, which is a satire on dead brothers.
Oh. Yeah. So what they're saying is oh, his brother is dead, but that's a joke because brothers are really alive.
Well, they're always dead.
So I think I'm a little lost on satire again because I thought satire is where I put a sticker on an apple that says orange on it. And then you see that and you go, that's a real funny thing because I know that that's not really that. Even though oranges exist, but that's not.
I think the satire, if the apple would be like, I'm an orange, that would be more satirical.
Oh, so is that why fruit can't do satire?
Yeah, because unfortunately, they're not sentient,
Sentient. Hey, this science stuff that keeps it up in the news, if they keep doing the way they're doing, fruit's going to be walking and talking before we know it.
Yeah.
There's this great company I've been reading about called Monsanto. And you should look them up because they really have a vision for the future that I think everyone can agree with. They kind of have this idea of ways to, it's if you imagine if you took what nature was and you turned it into a thing that was for money. And then that way people could sell it to everybody else. And it's a really good idea, I think.
Yeah.
Talon, have you actually made any investments yet in Monsanto?
Oh, in Monsanto? No. They're not getting. I do my investments right after Christmas, obviously for obvious reasons. So,
why do you after Christmas?
Well, Christmas is when I get all the gifts and checks and everything, so I'm able to kind of leverage that into the next year's earning.
Oh, I see.
So, because everything I make from this podcast, which is significant, let me remind you, everything from this podcast I'm putting into this fund, and it's kind of all set to the side. I'm kind of doing it the Jay Leno way, where I put it aside and keep it there, and then one day I will die, and there will be all this money around me, and it'll look like DuckTales, and I'll be in this giant pile of gold, and everyone will want to come see my body and say goodbye to me, but they won't be allowed to get close because that gold belongs to me, and I don't want any sneaky people in there taking it.
You know, DuckTales is a satire of the Christmas Story, right?
McScrooge McDuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And
then
also-
the three nephews are the ghosts.
Kinda. When you
So
think about it.
Huey is the little girl from the past. How do they work? Can we get a Dickens check?
So the Dickens factor says little girl from the past, little boy from the future, grandpa now.
Oh, okay. So so Huey, Dewey, and Louie are the okay. Now, this is kind of waking me up to a lot of things that I thought I knew about.
Oh, yeah.
And, and a lot of people would think that, Talon, you know so much. You know so much more than almost anybody else in the whole world. And how could you ever want to listen to what anyone else has to say when what you have to say is just intrinsically has more value? And I say because when I listen, I hear these things that I don't know, and I become even more better than I was. So I think that's a very interesting thing that people might be asking themselves, and a question that I would want to answer for them.
That's pretty satirical.
Oh, golly.
Oh, yeah. Did you know that you were talking about Monsanto, and have you seen the movie Attack of the Killer Tomatoes by chance?
No, I haven't seen that film. I've heard very good things about it. But I've never seen it. Can you describe it to me in detail?
Well, it's a movie about tomatoes that rise against their oppressors, which happen to be
Italians.
Yeah, and then after that, they rise up, they take power, and it's a satire of Monsanto, and that Monsanto doesn't realize that they've created these super vegetables, mostly tomatoes, that will eventually rise up.
And now this is probably why I didn't see this film, and one of those things where this is another situation where you have the Hollywood. Now Hollywood is they have their own agendas. And so what they do is they find a company like Monsanto that's doing good things for people, and then they make an attack movie about them, and they even call it the attack of the killer tomatoes, and they're making me think that corporations want to come get us and make things bad to you. But that's not the way it really is. So they're making these fiction movies, but the human mind can't tell the difference between a real movie and a fiction movie. So when you see it, then your brain thinks that you really see it, and that the messages get embedded in your mind.
Yeah, that's kind of how it works. Yeah, you're right.
And so that's why I'm afraid again of satire, because then when you're getting the opposite message in your mind and your brain has to turn it upside down, then your brain gets so used to turning everything upside down that then when you get something that's right side up, you turn it upside down and you think that right things are wrong. Because you're so used to thinking that wrong things are right.
Or you can just think right things are right after all of that.
And that's why you're the professor.
So, Talon, have you ever ran into something that, you held to be, you believed in your heart, this is right, this is something that's right, and someone maybe said something to you that made you think, maybe that's not right?
Well, I think when I think about that, I remember. Oh yes, I remember. And this is embarrassing to admit, folks, and I don't like to say this, but I thought that dress was yellow and white when I saw it, and then someone said, "No, I'm pretty sure it's black and blue." And as soon as they said that, I looked at it again, and it was black and blue. So I don't really know if that's a time where my mind was changed, because I don't know if I was wrong before or if they altered my reality through their suggestion. So that's one of those ones where I could have been wrong, couldn't have been. I did change my mind, but I'm not necessarily saying I was wrong before to have a different mind. But I wanted to, since I do have someone in here who's a professor of college, I want to ask you some questions that I have about colleges and universities across this country, because I think there's these kind of hubs where these radicals are created. And so I'm wondering, when you teach a class and all the people there are smoking marijuana cigarettes during the class, do you provide them with the marijuana cigarettes, or do they have to bring them? Do they have to pay for them out of their own pockets?
It's part of the curriculum. I don't think you can understand satire without, quote unquote, the marijuana cigarettes. So,
maybe that's why it's going over my head, because I have to say I have never tried that stuff.
Well, it is a communist university. So,
I think, that's a little redundant. Obviously, in America, colleges are built on the communist model, not of sharing resources in any way so much
taking
as
hard-earned money.
But yes, just teaching kids how to want that. They don't actually do it at the colleges, Everybody has to pay for everything. It's very capitalistic, and it works well in that way. That's why colleges, that's a good industry. I mean, we are making.
Oh yeah.
There's so much money being made off these kids, and it's like
it's cars, college, military.
Exactly. Because normally, in the olden days, what they did was they said, we'll give you a good education so you can earn good money. So then you shop and buy all the things and pay the taxes, right? But if you say, how about this? Instead of getting a good job with that, you just pay enough for college that you're paying all that money, but you never get the good job. And then so you cut out all these steps along the way of getting the money.
All your assumptions are correct about
So
this.
I think it's a streamlined system at this point, and I think that's good. But they teach them to want the communism, and I don't know if that's to throw people off the scent. But it's
as a professor of a college, I can tell you that's exactly what we're doing.
See, this is why I value the experience of having a professor in here. So when everyone in the class is all doing all their pots, do you ever find it difficult to keep your class in order when there's always orgies breaking out in every lecture hall?
The orgies are after class, like recess. You remember recess, right?
Oh, recess. It's the best class of the day, I always said.
Well, get ready for college, because orgy time is
kind of the recess.
College.
But yes, but there's gross and sex parts touching with other people that aren't in love with you and in a marriage with you.
Experience, though. You got to give it a try,
See, this is one of those things, and one of those issues I have with the colleges is that people are going there and they're doing all the different kinds of sex, and they're having sex with all the different people. And I think Oh, that's
You've
not
only
what
had
you
sex with one person?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I made a covenant. So
Oh.
yes.
Are you a believer?
I mean, I think we all are. If you didn't believe in anything, and that's the problem. That's what the colleges are trying to do. When you get to college on the first day, the professors will say, God is not real. And you should never believe in anything that anybody
Wait.
but me tells you
I thought we
anymore.
usually do it on the third days as the professor of Tulane University.
Well, maybe, your school runs on a different schedule, or maybe things are changing. Maybe the tides are shifting, but it's still happening. And I think everybody can admit that as the first thing they tell you when you get there is that God is not real, and everything that your mom and dad said wasn't even true in the first place.
Have you been to a college university campus?
I have been to them. I have been on campuses. I did not attend classes there because I didn't really feel like there was anything that they were going to teach me that I wanted or needed to know. That they were going to try to
Did you see any
indoctrinate
orgies,
me.
though? I mean, did you see any...
They were happening. I was quickly able to avert my glance, but they were breaking out left and right, I'm sure. Every time I saw somebody go to kind of make a furtive movement, I would take that as a sign that it was going to happen, and I'd turn my eyes away. So I know they were happening, but I wasn't seeing them directly. But I think I know exactly what was going on.
Oh, well, of course, that's an empirical approach to that situation. I agree. We only can judge things based on what we see, and that's about it.
Now, do you find it hard as a professor to have all these safe spaces?
Oh, well, I certainly feel like this is a safe space for a lot of ideas.
Oh, yes, of course, this space is safe. It's a real safe space because you can say any old thing you want as long as it's not one of the things that I don't want you to say. But that's real free speech in this space. But I'm talking about when they say safe space in the colleges, really they mean that you can't say anything that anybody would think is offensive.
Well, yeah, pretty much. As a professor of satire, that's part of the trick of, teaching at a university is, keeping people less offended at satire and more enlightened.
Oh, so you're taking things that the people could be offended by, and you're teaching them to not be offended by it.
Yeah.
Yes, this is very good. This is very good. I almost wish I could hire you to just sit in here when I have some of these guests who get off on the little tissies thinking that things I say aren't good things to say when I give them every right that they can have to say what they want to say, even if what they say is dumb as wrong.
Yeah. I took my class to a talk radio show the other day as an assignment for satire. So they, got to sit in the class, and
was it a drive time? I remember.
Yeah, it was like an AM. What was his name? Michael Savage. We took him in there, and they listened to about an hour's worth of a guy who doesn't like what's going on. So
I feel like some of these radio personalities like that are just these negative Nellies, and they are always coming on to say that everything is bad and that nothing is good anymore. But and that's why I'm glad you tune in here, folks, and that's why I know you do tune in here, folks, and this is why I know you donate in large numbers and you subscribe and you like and you do all those things, because you don't want someone to just come in and tell you, oh, everything is bad, everything is horrible, and you don't want someone coming in here saying, oh, everything is fine, because we all know that's not true, folks. We all know that part's not true. So you need someone in here to come in and tell you, hey, things are good, and some things are scary, and some things are bad, and other things are nice. And that's why I think that it's so good for me to hear from you about satire, because satire is one of those things that can make things seem scary. Like satire, like when somebody dresses up as a monster, but they say that it's art because they're not really a monster and it's a trick that they're playing.
Yeah, that's a good example of satire. Yeah. You got any other questions for me?
Well, I think the most important question in any interview is, do you have any questions for me?
Oh, I do. You have what do you do outside of this? What do you?
Oh, well,
you have a
me.
family?
I am a family man.
Oh,
I'm a
okay.
family man.
right.
I have a wife and 3 children that I adore. Precious little beams of sunshine.
Do they all agree with you on things?
Oh, yes. I don't see why they wouldn't. I think most people do. Is the thing is that there is of course these small fringes of people who differ with me on certain topics, but I think largely, and that's why my listenership is so big, is because people say that guy is saying what I'm thinking, and it's sometimes
Does
people.
your wife ever disagree with stuff?
Well, my wife and I disagree on certain things around the house, certain decorating details and that kind of thing. And also she thinks that the kids should be going to school.
Oh, so they don't go to school?
No, they do go to school because she handles a lot of the stuff with that. And I think that it's important that, they understand that the women and men are both leaders in the family. I think it's good that they understand that.
That's very progressive of you.
It is, yes, and also, if I'm being frank, I don't know what I could actually do to stop her, but she pays for most of the stuff, but that's neither here nor there. I outside of here, I'm a family man. As I said, I do lots of events for my charity.
What's your charity?
Charity. Sorry, I do a lot. It's a charity event. It's a
chair and tea.
Yes, it's a reenactment event that I do. It's a kind of Victorian thing, and we do drinking the tea. It's kind of did you ever play Tea Party as a kid?
Yeah, we did.
Yes,
we hated Obama then. Gotcha. Satire.
I get it, and I think it's important that children are very suspect of the president and very questioning of the president. I think it's a shame when you see these kids growing up in elementary school and they're saying, "Dear Mr. President," when they should really be saying, "Hey, asshole." And I don't just mean that about the current one, all right? I mean that about all of them.
Should children curse?
Well, I think it's important that children learn, yes, because swearing, there's a certain scale that exists in language, and swearing is on the far end of it, and you want kids to know that whole range, so they're ready to wield the swears. The best swearers were really started young. You don't think Dick Cheney got where he got by swearing when he was 21. No. He was swearing out of the womb, and that's a fact.
Well, he is a good role model. I'll give you that.
Well, youngest chief of staff in the history of the United States,
really?
Congressman, vice president. He's a great leader. And, people don't give him credit. And they say, oh, he made all the torture happen, and he helped Thomas Brady do 9/11 and all these things. But really, if you just look at the resume, he's a very impressive character. And I think it's important that kids strive to have a good lot of list of accomplishments, and maybe not so much about whether the person was good or bad or people liked what they did.
Like objectivity.
Exactly.
I see. Yeah.
Yes.
You're pretty objective.
I am.
Yeah.
Objectively great.
Yeah.
So, Talon, as an educator yourself, you write so many books giving people tips on how to live the sort of life that you like to live yourself. Do you have any questions, maybe tips to share with your guest? How you things like that to bring up?
Okay.
I need some tips as a professor of Tulane University.
I would love to come in and do a guest teaching and a kind of a counterpoint in your class where I talk about the importance of seriousness and straightforwardness and being a straight talker. And I think that it would be important for the students to say, you don't have to resort to satire. You don't need to be like a Samuel Clemens hiding behind a fake name trying to write books with very mean words in them. And I think that you can just say what you mean and people will respect you for it. And I think that's an important thing if people are going to learn all this about satire and about how sometimes taking on a persona that isn't really yours is the only way you feel you can fully express yourself. Those people need to learn that that's not true, and they can tell it like it is and be them real selves. So I want to come to your class and teach them. Is that okay with you?
Well, if there's one thing the communists in my classroom need, it's A lot of straight talk from a radio DJ. So yeah, I'm in. You can totally do that, and I will stand back and allow you to straight talk my class of communist.
All right. And this is an example of how every professor in this country should be. If I were president, this would be my Secretary of Education in a minute, except that I would never be president because that would mean that I would want kids to call me an asshole. And I would never use that word about anybody who wasn't a president because it's rude. So
you're talented like it is.
Well, I do want to give you the last word. If there's anything you want to say to our audience before we go.
I've been honest about everything.
Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at TalentItLikeItIs. For new content and updates, visit boiledsprat.com/TalentItLikeItIs. See you next week.